Today, Liss and I are going to discuss the topic of abundance.
Hi, and welcome to Light for Life. If you are returning to our channel, thank you. We value and appreciate you. Our aim is to shine a bright light on your inner splendor and assist to connect you to your magnificence via what we intend to be enlightened sharing, potentially educational, and hopefully entertaining information, as well as encouragement for new perspectives. If you are new here, you are most welcome. We do hope that you will find our content highly beneficial and enjoyable. I am Liss. I'm a Science of Mind practitioner and a teacher of various healing modalities applicable to all aspects of the self and this life.
And I am Lori. I am a holistic wellness researcher and educator. Welcome to Connections with Liss and Lori. We use the space to offer our perspective regarding multiple different topics that we certainly hope you find inspiring. I think this is a word that people have probably heard 1,000 times and probably think they know what it means. I probably think I know what it means. But when I did a post the other day about abundance and how I had a really uncomfortable weekend that led me to some deep introspection, I emerged from this weekend ready to say yes to a lot of things that felt new and fresh and right and true and in alignment. And Liss said, I would love to talk about this. We should add this as a topic. And I said, great.
Is that my cue, honey?
Sure.
Yes, Lori, abundance. It's everywhere. All the manifestation channels, the guided meditation channels, you can find so much content on abundance. And what people may not realize is that abundance is not, in fact, a high frequency state. Abundance, believe it or not, is a neutral state. When we think of abundance, we always think of everything that we want and desire. We think of lots and lots of money, an abundance of financial wealth. We think of wellness and an abundance of vitality and life energy. But guess what? You can be abundant in anything because abundance is the natural state of things. There's never any lack of anything. So abundance is neutral. You can have an abundance of anxiety. You can have an abundance of problems. You can have an abundance of worries, an abundance of illnesses. You can have an abundance of right? So, whether abundance is a high frequency state for you or not is going to depend on whether you are in a high frequency state or not. So if you are affirming that you want more abundance, you claim more abundance, you're resonating with more abundance, and you are in a high frequency state, then fantastic. Abundance is going to be a high frequency state for you. But if you're worried, or you're anxious, or you're ill, or you're stressed, or you're downright unhappy, and you're claiming abundance and asking for abundance and desiring abundance, what's going to arrive is an abundance of more anxiety, an abundance of more to worry about, an abundance of more stress. Because life, as a mirror, is going to reflect your state to you in the abundance that you're claiming. Because there never is any lack.
And see, this is why I love these conversations. This is exactly why, because you always have a perspective that is a little bit hidden from society, and it just elevates the picture so much higher than I think a lot of people realize. And you are absolutely right. As always, I cannot disagree with you. And it's interesting, when I had actually made that video, I was feeling so much joy and so much excitement and so much oh, gratitude. And I was just bubbling. But if I was coming from a place of worry and concern, I completely understand how, like you said, you said it perfectly. Life is just a mirror, right? It is simply going to reflect back at you where you're at. And I think that's probably one of the most powerful statements we can reiterate over and over and over. Whatever is going on here is what is going to be reflected back. Whatever is going on here is going to be reflected back. So, whew, I love these conversations, Liss. I can't even tell you how much I love this, because I think it can be a real eye opener for people who feel like they're doing all of the right things, and they're manifesting like their guru told them to, and they're doing all of the perfect meditations and using all of the right words, but the foundation of that could be wonky, and that's why they're not seeing what they want to see as their end result.
Exactly. It's like, to a certain extent, when we first start manifesting in a particular area of life, it is a natural part of the process that we will first get the opposite result. Because that, again, is something that manifestation gurus who want a million likes on their videos aren't going to tell you. The law of attraction is not just that like attracts like. Opposites attract. Opposites attract. So when we first start shifting, we are going to engage that universal law. And that is not as some form of a punishment. That is in order for us to get really clear and really certain about what it is that we are now desiring to shift into. The brain, as an energy conserving mechanism, is going to pop up with, no, hang on, we don't normally do this. This is not what we think. This is not what we feel. And bring us an opportunity to go back to our old way of thinking, our old way of being, because those neural pathways are laid. It's energy conservation. So we have to stand our ground and be persistent in this 3D reality. That when the opposite reality manifests, we go, all right, I recognize I'm at cause. That's past creations popping up for me. Thank you, because that means that my new creations are right behind it, and keep affirming and affirming and affirming and staying persistent with what our new reality is. And that is where our state of being is everything. It's everything. Because if we're going to go back to our previous way of thinking and our previous way of feeling, it's like starting from square one all over again. And that is why so many people come to the conclusion that manifestation doesn't work. It doesn't work. Because they can't hold that new frequency. They don't stay persistent. They don't see the course through. And they keep putting themselves back at reset to one, where they get the opposite result. They have the same negative reaction, back to reset at one, get the opposite result, and repeat and repeat and repeat until eventually people give up.
I couldn't agree more. As have I given up several times. So when we talk about the brain and wanting to conserve energy, but we do want to change our life and change our outcomes and change the trajectory that our course is going on, I think it's important to remember that it takes a minute to create those new neural pathways, right? And I think that's where you were going with, that's why these things don't work, because it takes 30 days at minimum to create a new neural pathway, and then to really establish it. And to really establish it, and to really establish that new, well, the new trajectory, the new pathway, is a full 90 days for sure, right?
Well, absolutely, because on average it takes 10,000 repeats.
Mm,
And I don't know the science to quote on this, but there is science about that, where they've actually gone to see how many acts of consistent repetition does it take to lay that new neural network. And then it's a baby neural network. It's one that hasn't been used very frequently.
yeah,
So yes, when we decide to shift and we decide on a new course of action in line with our desires, that is the effort that is required of us, is to stay true to ourselves. People call it work, and I don't resonate with that word because it's not work when it's for love and for desire, but it is consistent effort in one direction. That's the only way we ever get anywhere in life. Can you imagine getting into a car
right,
and deciding that you want to go from this city to that city, driving 1 kilometer in that direction, and then turning around and going back home,
right.
and then doing that again, and doing that again, and wondering why you never get to the city you were trying to go to?
Hmm.
And yet that's what we do in our lives all the time. All the time. It just doesn't work.
Well, and what I think what people miss is that all of the patterns that led to today took practice. All of the
Yeah.
patterns that we have in our neural pathways already, all of the habits that we have to this point in our life, whether you're 25 or 55, all of those patterns took practice. It took consistency. Now, if a lot of those patterns are not working for you and you don't like the outcomes that you're seeing, the same amount of time and effort and consistency is going to be required to change. And it really is just a lifestyle adjustment. Adjust the
Not
lifestyle.
necessarily the same amount of time.
Yeah,
Not
not
necessarily
necessarily
the
this.
same
Yeah,
amount of time.
it can be a lot quicker with intent and purpose, right?
Yes, and because it's a higher, more positive energy,
Mm,
it creates more rapidly. So we could have an established pattern of 40 years, a certain habit, a certain thought, a certain belief, a certain truth. It's not going to take 40 years to shift that.
right.
It will take maybe 90 days. And then it might take another 90 days before that manifests in 3D reality. It's not going to take 40 years to undo because we are bringing a higher frequency to it. We've actually shifted.
Yeah,
Density, the more dense something is, the slower it is because it's
right.
heavier.
Beautiful.
So the lighter we can shift the energy, the more of a higher frequency we can be coming from, the more rapid it is.
Yeah, that explains a lot. That explains a lot. Thank you for that because I've seen that too. Is it seems like it can take forever to get out of an old pattern, but when we want to create the new one, it really does move so much quicker. It's not so much, well, in my opinion anyway, it's not so much about releasing an old one, it's replacing that new one, right? And cultivating that new habit, that new process, that new thought, that new trajectory.
Yeah, exactly. So what I can offer to people, if I may take a minute to plug myself
Oh,
here,
yeah.
um, if you are in a positive state of being, then by all means, affirm abundance, claim abundance, and do so consistently. There's nothing wrong with abundance. Abundance is perfectly beautiful. But if you find yourself in a less than positive or high state of being, and you acknowledge, you know what, I do actually have a lot of stress. There's a lot of going on in my life right now. I am rather anxious. I am fearful. If you can acknowledge that that is your current state of being, you're not cementing it, you're not anchoring it, you're just being honest with yourself. Then let's not reach for abundance. There are grids that are of a much higher frequency that are truly positive, that we can go directly to instead of the neutral field that abundance is. So, whatever resonates the best with your heart and the way you speak to yourself in your mind, think of grids like luxury, pleasure, excitement, energy, wealth, plenty, or my personal favorite, opulence. These are frequencies that are more shielded by the high vibration in which they exist. Denser, lower frequencies can't reach them. So when I can attune, regardless of what my personal state of being is, when I can attune to one of those grids and start integrating that, it is a more shielded and protected frequency. So if anyone is interested in learning more about this, I have a teaching and I have a program, and it's really, really cheap. The details for that are always in the comments of every video. But you don't have to use my program. You can go into your own heart in a moment of quiet and visualize what true abundance feels like to you. Does it feel like luxury? Does it feel like ease? Does it feel like freedom? Does it feel like opulence? Whatever that feeling state of the desired reality would be, make that your current feeling state and hold it. Hold it for as long as possible. Hold it every time your desired creation comes to mind. Reclaim it. Own it. Because what we can energetically hold as a feeling state, we will embody. And what we embody must flesh out in the reality of our lives. It can't do anything else. That's just the way it works.
So let's talk just a little bit more about how it can't just be a mental concept. It really does have to be, like you said, it really does have to be the embodiment of it. Because I think that's where the disconnect can come in, right? As we think that we know what opulence is, we think we know what freedom is, but if we don't truly feel it and believe it, there's going to be a disconnect there, right? We really do have to, if we're not feeling it at that moment, I feel it's best to drop just a little deeper down. And if we're still not feeling it, drop just a little deeper down, because it's in there. It is absolutely in there because it's inherently ours. Freedom and our God-given rights, all of those things, it never goes anywhere. It just got a little buried. So if you're having a hard time, resonating with freedom and ease and joy and peace, it's just hidden. So just go a little deeper until you can feel that and you really lock in that feeling. And as you said, several times a day, lock in that feeling and get used to that feeling. What does it really feel like to be ultimately free? And time is nothing to you. You don't have to worry about the to-do list. You don't have to worry about anything, because worry and freedom don't exist together.
No. Exactly. There's so much value in what you said about dropping in deeper. And yet I do the exact opposite personally. I expand up into it. I go into my feeling state and I find where is that resonating on a frequency level. And then I access energetically the frequency that I desire. And I measure what's the difference between where I am and where that frequency is. And then I allow myself to expand up into it. And then I pull that down into my own personal frequency. Because we're able to do that. It's the arrows of our desire that we shoot up to that which we are wanting to bring back in. So go down deep, yes. Find where you've buried, perhaps a memory, perhaps a recall of what that feeling would feel like, even if it's in a totally different context. Perhaps you've never felt financially free, but you do know what it feels like to feel free to love. So access that feeling of freedom and then apply it in the realm of your choosing. But once you've accessed it from where it might have been buried, allow yourself to expand up into it, because it exists energetically in a very high place. And that's a beautiful frequency to not just connect to, but bring down. And that's what we get to ground here in ourselves. And that's what we will see reflected in our reality. We must. And just as a little caveat as well, if you really can't feel the feeling of the thing that you're desiring, you have no experience of it ever in your life. So you can't even imagine what that feeling state would be. I promise you, even robotic repetition, just dead, no emotion, robotic repetition, done enough and done consistently, will bring you your results. As long as you are not acting against it, as long as you are not doing that reset to one,
Right.
that we all do so easily. Let's get to square 2 and square 3 and square 4 and know that it's inevitable that we will reach our destination, whatever that might be for you.
Thank you for connecting with Light for Life. If you appreciate reminders, please go ahead and subscribe to the channel so you can receive those notifications. If you would like to work with one of us, you can find our contact information in the About section of this channel.
Yes, thank you for connecting with Light for Life. Please share your insights, your questions, and your comments with us in the comment section below. We value your feedback. And we really hope that we will see you for our next episode. We upload one every Thursday. Until then, bye-bye and be joyful.
Until we connect again, we send you love and light.